Hey, welcome back to Code with Beto. Today we're building a real-time chat application from scratch without using AI. We're gonna use React Native, Expo, and Instant for our backend and real-time functionality. The application will work on Android, iOS, it will have real-time functionality, authentication, and we're going to code everything ourselves. So if you want to get the most out of this tutorial, I would encourage you to follow along with me. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start by explaining what is Instant for those who don't know. Instant is basically like an alternative to Firebase, but it's a modern alternative, easier to use, easier to implement. Instant is my go-to when I need real-time functionality, and it works out of the box with React Native and Expo. All right, so let's start by creating a new Expo project. I'm going to open my terminal inside my apps folder, and I'm going to use bun-x create Expo app using the default template add next. I'm using add next because at the time that I'm recording this video, the Expo SDK 55 released is not public yet, so we need to say next. But if you are watching this like a couple days later after I published it, you can just say latest here, and it will use SDK 55. So let's call real-time chat app. This is the name of my application, and it's going to create it super quickly. All right, let's see them, and let's open this in VS Code. All right, close this, and here we have it. So this is our project. Nothing yet installed. Let's open the terminal, and let me bring my shortcuts. I use KeyCast for this, by the way. That way you can see the shortcuts. For example, to open the terminal, you can press Command J. All right, let's start the application just by saying npx expo start like this. All right, and it's using Expo Go. Let's see if I can run this on my Android device. So I'm going to be using my physical Android device. I have it here. It's connected to my computer, and something cool that I like to do is just opening Android Studio, go to the running devices. I have this folder here. It doesn't really matter which project you opened, but basically you just need to press plus, select your device, and boom, this is my real device, and I can control it from here. So that's really cool. Something that I like to do actually is say view mode window. That way I can minimize the rest and just keep my Android device here so everyone can see it. All right, so let's put it here. I'm just going to say A to open it on Android. And let's say yes. This is going to download and install Expo Go 55. Let me just go to full window here. And let me bring this here. There we go. Just to make sure that everything is working. Let's wait a moment. It'll be fairly fast. In the meantime, I can actually show you the package JSON. We're using Expo 55 beta. All right, and there we have it. Real-time chat app application. It's working using SDK 55. Something to notice here is that on SDK 55, we get the native tabs by default using Expo Router. And on iOS, this is going to use the glass effect. Let me show you quickly here just by pressing I. This is going to open on iPhone. I need to install SDK 55 as well. So let's say yes. And it should bring it here. Let me close this. We don't need it anymore. All right, here we have it. Let's maximize it so that we can see. This is how it looks using SDK 55. This is a new template, and we have the tabs. Okay, and it seems like the icons are not changing in dark mode, but that's fine. All right, so now that we know that our project works, let's go back, stop this, and let's start by installing Instant in the project. So let's go back here. I'm gonna go to the documents. They have a nice section on React Native. And here you can see how we can install it. But before I do that, let's actually read the recommended workflow that the team actually recommends when you are working with Instant. So first of all, they recommend that we authenticate with Instant in your terminal via the Instant CLI. So if you don't have an Instant account, just go ahead and create one. It's actually free to use. It's open source. Instant, you can basically self-host it. And here you can see that it's a very popular open source project, almost 10,000 stars. But I would recommend that you just use the free version because it's very generous. Let me go to the pricing. You can see that it's free here. You get 1 gigabyte database space, unlimited API request, community support, 1 team member per application. And then if you notice that your application grows, I mean, 10 gigabytes for a database space, that's a lot. And that would be $30 per month. That's in the case that you encounter massive growth, which would be a good problem to have. So yeah, let's go ahead and create an account. I already have mine. Let me sign in. And boom, there we go. This is my account. I have some applications. I've been using Instant for a while now for a couple projects. But yeah, I'm authenticated. Let's go back to the docs here. Let's go to the recommended workflow. Now they are saying that we should actually log in using the Instant CLI. So let's copy this command. Let me minimize this. I'm gonna go back to my project, open the terminal, and run npx Instant CLI login. Say yes. And wait for a moment. Let's log you in. Okay, yes. And then this is gonna open the browser. It's complete. We can close this. Go back, successfully logged in as Beto. Cool. So once we're authenticated with the CLI, we can do other things like pushing our schema and our database stuff to Instant. Okay, so next, create your project. We already have a project. Push the changes to your schema and permissions via npx Instant CLI push. Use the sandbox to debug queries, transactions, and permissions. Let's take a look at the sandbox. Okay, so this is really cool. It's actually using my temporary application that I created the other day. And here you can run queries and do crazy stuff. That's really nice because we can make sure that our queries work before we actually implement them in our project. All right, so we now know that we can use a sandbox. And when you're ready for production, you can also restrict creating new attributes. Let's take a look. So this is great because when you need, when you're deploying, you of course are going to need permissions to lock down your schema based on, some rules. And you can restrict creating new attributes by adding these to your app's permissions. Attributes allow default false. This will prevent any attributes from being created. You can learn more about attribute permissions here. This document is actually fairly long. Maybe we'll come back to this later. That's for production. If you need more help, check out the patterns page or common recipes, or drop us a line on our Discord. Definitely, if you are building something serious, join the Instant Discord, and they will help you if you need help. Let's check the patterns. You can expose your app ID to the client. Similar to Firebase, the app ID is a unique identifier for your application. Yeah, this is a fairly common mistake that I see beginners made, is that they worried about their app ID. And that's okay. That's a client ID, right? Like they are saying here, that's how they identify your application, track your usage and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So now that we know that, let's go back to the React Native section. Let's start by installing Instant React Native. I'm using Bun, so I'm gonna say Bun install instant React Native. It's a bit smaller. There we go. Now, instant has a couple of pair dependencies, async storage, and yeah, all of this. Let's copy this. I'm going to paste this in here and say bon install. So async storage, net info, get random values, hit enter. There we have it. You can double check that by going to the package JSON. Now we have these packages and yeah, cool. That's it. So these are just JavaScript packages. That means that we don't need to rebuild the application and this will work in Expo. We don't need a dev client yet. All right, now we can open the index.tsx in your favorite editor and replace the entire file with the following code. All right, let's do that. I'm going to start the server. By the way, I have a shortcut here. It's an alias, ES, which basically means npx expo start. So if you see me use ES, it's just starting the server. Okay, let's go to the index. So we have a lot going on here in our project. And what I want to do here is just simplify this a bit because we have a bunch of things. So in the package JSON, this comes with something called reset project. This is a script that we can use to simplify the project. So let's say bon reset project. This will run that script and it's going to ask me if I want to save a couple things here. I'm going to say no. Okay, and this is going to just remove a couple things here. Now on the left, you can see that our app is lean. So let's close that. Let's go now to the index. Super simple. Layout only a stack. Great. Let's refresh the application. Let's see. I'm gonna press A to open this on Android. There we go. So now my application is very simple, and we can actually replace this with this. Let's go back. Copy and paste this in here. Notice that we get an app ID here. Let's hit save. This is refreshing the app. Pick your favorite color. Green, blue, purple. Okay, purple. Now, by default, guys, something really nice is that we get real-time functionality just like that. Let me show you the iOS simulator. I'm going to refresh. And wait a moment. Look at that. So it's purple. And if I change it to blue, it's blue. So how cool is that? We get real-time functionality by default. So this is my temporary application, by the way. And this is the schema. So basically we have a table inside the entities, all colors, and we just have one value, which is the color, right? If we don't have a color, it's defaulting to light gray. And yeah, you can pick a color between these three colors. Even we can say, for example, yellow. And let's press yellow. Boom. How cool is that? So yeah, this is actually teaching us a lot. This is teaching us how you can declare the schema of your application, how you can instantiate the app ID. So this is, again, you can ship it to the client and it's okay, but maybe you don't want to ship this to GitHub, right? Because other developers can use it. So for this, let's actually use an environment variable. So in my Explorer on the left, I'm going to create a new file and let's call it .env.local. And let's create a new environment variable called instant app ID, like that. And let's remove this value from here, paste it in here. Now, since I'm going to be using this on the client, I need to prefix this with Expo public and hit save. Oops. Now let me copy this and close, paste it in here, and we can access it by saying process.end.expo public instant app ID. So this could be null, and you can have a check here. So if the app ID does not exist, what you can do here is just return, no, I'm gonna say throw new error, and then the message is going to be, you need to set your app ID. That way we don't get the warning here. If we skip this check, TypeScript is going to start crying. So yeah, there we go. So this is safe. Now you can push this to GitHub. And the reason why I created a .env.local is that this is by default ignored. So it's not going to be tracked on GitHub. All right, let's go back to the project. We have real-time functionality. So how cool is that? Now, I'm using this temporary application. I think we should create a new one with the actual name of my project. But just let's finish taking a look at this. This is how you can create a schema. And cool thing is that, okay, so this is how you do a query. You get the data, and let me show you that data comes with type safety. So just like that, I can just access the data. I don't need to declare types or anything, just the schema. And this is an array. You can iterate or just render the position at 0. Okay, great. This is how you update. So we're querying, updating, and to update, we can just import the DV by initting the DV here. We just pass the app ID and the schema. And just like that, DV is going to allow me to use queries and also do transactions in my database. So here we also get type safety. I can say colors, add position selected ID, update the value to be the new value, which is what we're getting here. All right, that's super cool. Let's go back to the docs. That's our project. It's crazy how much you can learn just by copying an example. Okay. Yeah, it's using mmkv for faster storage. This is optional. I'm not going to do that. Implementing your own store. All right. You can also implement your own local cache inference. All right, then pass the custom store. Cool. Okay. So let's actually create a new app. It's gonna be called Quick Start. Yeah, so we already signed it in with the Instant CLI. One-shotting it with Claude. Yeah, so we can use the Instant CLI to create the project, or you can say npx Instant CLI help, and it's gonna give us, you know, what we can do. For example, init to create a new project, or you can do other things like claim, pull, push to push and deploy your schema changes. So yeah, let's say init to init a new project. Yep, and it detected my project that I already had. So it's pulling the schema. All right, so this is new. Now we have rules and schema. So by default, it comes with users, email, image URL, type, files, colors, pull options, pulls, votes. And this is because I'm actually using the same schema Yeah, this is because I already had this ID, by the way. So what we can do here is, instead of doing that, because I actually want to create a new app, let's go back to the website. I'm gonna go to the dashboard. Let's create a new app here. Let's call it real time chat app. So this is my app. And here I have the app ID, by the way. Yeah, I can copy here the ID. Let's go back. And in my environment, I'm going to replace this. Okay, and now let's remove the instant permissions as well as the schema. I'm going to... Okay, so maybe I can just init again. Let's see what happens. Found local schema, push it to the new app. No. Okay, let's see. It created the rules. Yeah, so I have here some values. Let me actually remove it because I created a pool the other day. Yeah, what I'm gonna do here is just remove permissions, remove schema, set the ID, and let's run that again. Let's see. Now with the new ID. So let's see what happened. Again, we have permissions and we have the schema. Okay, this is what I wanted. Now it's simplified. Cool. All right, so by default, we have users and we have files, path URL. All right, that's nice. Let's go back to the docs. Now I have here my application, cool. This is my ID, my app stats. Nice. This is API, cool. So let's go to the Explorer. You can see here that we can check for users, data, and stuff. We can also see the schema. This is how our schema looks like at the moment. We can pull this by using the CLI. We can also check permissions, auth, and sandbox, admin, or inspector. A lot of cool stuff here. So let's run this. Nothing. Users, no users. Okay. Let's actually start by implementing, I guess, authentication in our application. We're gonna need to sign in users. So I want to start with simple authentication, maybe just email. So we're not gonna be using Auth clients. Custom magic code email. This is what I want. So this so it says we provide a few dynamic variables for you to use in your email. Okay, so you can customize the email that they are going to send to authenticate users. But actually, I don't think I want to do that right now. Let's delete this template. Okay. Let's actually go to the docs. Close this. Let's go to the magic code under authentication. Let's take a look at these. So we can authenticate very easily And a cool thing about this, by the way, is that you can also authenticate as a guest user. All right, let's see the magic codes. Okay, magic code auth. Oh, by the way, you can select your app here. We already have the chat application, which is nice. DB, sign it in. Okay, so you can protect like this. That's nice. You can access the user just by saying dv use user. Let's see if we can do that. Let me minimize this. Let's go to the index. I'm gonna say here, oops, db.use user. Okay, so this will return the user. And then we can access the value. Okay, let's paste it in here. User must be used within an auth protected route. Okay, cool. That's where the layout comes in, I think. So basically we can do something like dv sign it in. Let's see. This actually reminds me of the protected routes in Expo Router. Not sure how I should handle this. Let's create a stack screen. Give it a name, which is the index or current screen. It's safe. And then we can use the dv here. Similar to what we're doing here. Yeah. Let's import. Where I need the app ID. So the app ID, by the way, I think we could put it in a utilities file. Let's create a utils.ts. And then let's export the app ID. That way we can import it everywhere. And I think we can do the same with the DV. Let's see. Let's go to the utils. Yeah. Yeah, I think inside the utils is a good place to do that. Let me bring the DB. Let's export this. Import. And I think in this case, we are not going to need this anymore in other places. Yeah, so let's bring the validation. I'm gonna paste it here. We need the schema. Yeah. So this is my current schema, but we also have this schema here. I think this is the one we should use, right? Export default schema. So let's use it from here then. Let me remove this. Remove this as well. Select ID. What's that? Let's remove this. Let's comment this for now. We are not going to have a loading or error. Let's comment all that out. Yep. I guess we can just remove this. And just simplify this to be a view from React Native with a text. All right, let's remove some styling. There we go. The app still works. Let's import the schema here. Now we are importing it from the instant schema, which is this file that was auto-generated. All right, let's close this. I think we're good to start implementing the authentication. I'm going to remove that as well. All right, so let's go back here. We need to somehow wrap this using the DV. Const DV equal to yeah, we can import that from here, right? Export const DB from the utilities. Let's see. So I can just say DB directly here. Import from, where are my utilities? Utils. DB. DB.sign it in. And we can say DB.sign it out. So in here we would need a new screen called auth.tsx. By the way, if you are new to authentication with Expo Router and routing overall and you want to go deeper, I have a full course in my platform called with Beto. I would highly recommend that you check it out. The React Native course has a full section on Expo Router, which covers stack, tabs, router hooks, dynamic routes, basically everything that you need in case you want to go deeper. All right, so let's export default function auth screen. Now, something that I like to do, guys, instead of creating all the logic here, let me go inside the source and create a components folder. And inside the components, let's create a screens folder. And then inside screens, we can create a auth screen.tsx. And then let's rename this to be just auth. The reason is that the goal is to try to keep these routes clean, as clean as possible. And we can do that by abstracting the actual content of the screen into a component. This is good because later we can refactor the source folder and all that. Auth screen.tsx, okay. Default function. I can actually just copy this. But for the component, I don't like to export default, just export the function like this. Return a view from React Native. Super simple stuff. Let's just add a text that says auth screen. Let's see if we can see this here. Now, in my route, you notice here on the left, I can just return the auth screen. Let me restart the TypeScript server. Let's see. I'm not sure why I'm not able to. Oh, it's called auth. Sorry, my bad. But I think it should be called auth screen because this is the actual screen. Yep. There we have it. So now my route is super clean while all the logic is inside this component. Now we can go back to the index and I'm going to just pass here the auth when sign it out. Okay, it says hello. That means we are rendering the index, right? Oops. What happened? Ignore. My application broke. Something happened. Let me bring that again. Maybe I did something wrong. Where is my phone? I'm going to shake it. Okay, refresh. We have an error here. Let's see. Can't perform React state updates on a component that hasn't mounted yet. Okay, seems that we're doing something wrong. I think here's the issue. What's happening here? Okay, so it's rendering hello. What's a good way to do this? Yeah, the issue is that somehow this is breaking. Okay, let's try one thing. Let's see if this works. Okay, the error is gone. So now we know that that's the error. Let me try to just handle the authentication with a component. That way we can have the validation here. Let's see. Can we say db dot sign it in, sign it out. Okay. If it's sign it in, do this. Okay. And db dot sign it out. Not sign it in. Huh. It works. I'm not sure why I'm not able to use it in the layout. But that's fine because we can validate that inside the screen before rendering anything. Okay, cool. So in here, we actually want to say auth screen. Now, if we go to the auth screen, we can start actually doing some stuff here. So for the authentication, let me minimize this. Let's go to the docs. Yeah, that's how you handle authentication. Let's see the login screen. Yeah, this is using a one-time code. Yeah, let's do that. But for React Native. So let's go to the authentication screen. We're gonna need some state. Let's bring this here. All right. Yeah, we're gonna send an email. Let me actually add some styling here. Style sheet from React Native dot create container flex of 1. Then I can say styles dot container. And my phone actually is using light mode. Would be nice to use dark mode. What do we do? We can say background color black. All right. The thing is that to handle that dark mode, we need to use the user interface automatic. Okay, that's good. I think we can just keep it light mode for now so that we don't, complicate stuff. One thing that I like to do is just remove the index here. I mean, not remove it, but just change the name. Like this. Cool. All right. Auth screen. Let's create a title and text style. I'm gonna say font size of 32, font weight bold, and oh, forget a comma. Let's pass the style here. Title. All right. Why this is not taking the entire available space? I know. Let's go back to the index. It's because this view. Let's pass a flex of 1. There we go. Just so that you know, this is the entire available space. Okay. So here we need to get the user email. Let's create an input. Text input from React Native. Placeholder. Enter your email. And there it is. Let's pass some style. Yeah, we can do it inline, or we can create a styles dot input. Let's create this down here. Font size of 20. There we go. Now we can see something. Let's add a border width of 1. Now here I'm gonna add a padding of 16 and maybe a gap of 16 as well, so we get some spacing. Border color gray. I'm just gonna keep things simple, but if you actually want to learn how to create cool UIs and go more in detail, best practices, check out my course and my resources. Border radius of 6. That looks way better. Maybe I can add a padding left of 10. 16. Let's see how that feels. Hello world. Nice. We can actually add a type here. Keyword type. And I'm gonna say email address. There you go. Good thing about this is that now it's even suggesting my email. And I can just select it. Such a great user experience because I don't have to type it manually. Cool. So let's see how this looks on iOS. Let me bring this here. Let's open Expo Go. Real-time chat app. Let's reload. Let's go home. Maybe I selected the wrong one. Okay, so this is how it looks on iOS. So when you set the text input to email, you get the at here. Now I'm not sure why the padding looks different, by the way. Maybe I can add the padding like that. Yeah, that looks similar. Okay. We can even say horizontal and then adding vertical 8. Or 12. Yeah, I think that looks better. Anyways, this is not about a good style, it's just more about functionality. So users are going to enter their email. Once we get the email, we can submit a one-time code that they can use to authenticate. So let's say on change text, set the variable and set the value to be sent email. Okay, I think this is correct, right? Set send email, send email. Let me see. Okay. 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 Email step, code step. So we need to create these two components. Let's copy this. Let's paste it in here. And yeah, this is actually going to be a kind of like a Boolean to validate if we should show the input or the code step. So let's create these components here. I'm going to create this down here. Function email step. And then function code step. All right, and return. Okay, this is going to get the on sent email prop. We can even declare an interface here. I think this is clear to understand. On sent email, and we can copy the type. Oops. Copy, paste. And then in here, we can say that email props, and then we can nicely destructure the method like that. Okay, so in the email step, we actually want to put this in here. Change text. Yeah, so in here, we're going to have a submit button. Let's do this like this. Let's create a simple button from React Native. Give it a title. Send email. Let's create a function here. I can just say function handle submit. Now inside this component, we're going to need to store the email. So use the state for the email. And here we can say set email. And the value is going to be the email. Okay, cool. So if I hit save, you can see that on the right, we are getting some progress. Nice. Handle submits. Okay. Let's add the press event here. Let's add a quick validation. If we don't have an email, return. Or if you want, we can show an alert that says, please enter an email. A more advanced pattern would be to check that the email is, it's in a good state. There are some packages to do that, or you can just ask AI to validate it with a regex expression. But just to keep things simple, let's keep it as it is. Okay. So on send email, let's take a look at the example. This is the email step. They have a handle submit. Then they are setting the onSend email, passing the email, and then we can call db.auth. Let's bring the database from the utilities. We can call auth, send magic link to the email, and if we have an error, we alert. Oh no. Cool. So when we set this variable, we are going to stop rendering this component and instead rendering the code step. Okay, so let's minimize this. Now let's create the code step, which is here. Return. Okay, so for the code step, we're gonna need an input as well. So let's copy this. We're gonna need an input and a button to submit. But in this case, instead of having the email, this is going to be the code. Let's use state as well. And set code. Value is gonna be code. And this is a string. Okay, so we're going to have a function to handle submit code. Again, we can have a validation if we don't have a code. Alert. No code provided. And we can update this to be handle submit code. It's safe. Great. Send email. Let's go back. Let's see the code. Handle submit. Handle submit. Okay, so that's for the other step. The code step, we have the handle submit as well. We pass the code and then we call sign in with magic code using Divi as well. Let's do that. Let's minimize this. Sign in with magic link. We need to get the sent email. We can create an interface for the properties of this step, but since this is very simple, we can just type it as like this, destructuring it. Send email of type string. And if we have an error, we are going to pass the error message in an alert. Okay. So once we authenticate the user correctly, we should enter into this validation where the user is signing, and we should be able to see the hello, you are signed in. Let's just give it a style so that we can see it when we are signed in. You are signed in. Okay. Cool. Let's go back. Let's see, just to make sure that we are not missing anything. That's all. Let's dig deeper. Send magic code. Sign in with magic code. Okay, I think that's it. Let's test this out. Everything seems correct. Let's just refresh the app just to make sure that everything works nicely. I'm going to enter my email. Send email. What just happened? I think I'm looking at the code. Let's add a text, by the way. This is very bad user experience. Enter the code we sent you. Yep, that's how I know I'm in this step. Enter your code. And this should be confirm code. All right, let's check my email. I have a bunch of notifications. Okay, here we have it. So it worked. This is my code. Nice. Let's go back. Paste it in here. Okay, cool. Confirm. There we go. We just implemented authentication. Woo! And this is secure because users need to confirm the code so we know that their email is real. All right. What do you say we do this a little more pretty? First of all, we're gonna need a home screen, right? Instead of rendering just this text. Let's go to the components. Screen. Let's create a new file. Home screen.tsx. You notice how this is looking good? And for things that you're going to be reutilizing, like UI components, should create a new folder like that. This is just so nice. Cool. Let's create a screen for the home screen. So what do we want in our home screen? Once we authenticate, we should get a list of conversations, right? Let's say export function home screen. Let's return a view from React Native and the text that we have in the index. Let's take this out of here. Let's paste it in here. Bring this from React Native. Hit save. Okay, let's go back, and then we can say home screen. Cool. Nice. Let's close this. And in here, we can actually copy some of the styles that we have here. I think just the container should be good. Let's close this, paste this in here. Close this as well. Let's import style sheet from React Native. And let's use the container. Nice. We can even use the title. Hit save. And let me remove this. All right. I don't see the update. Oops, what happened? Okay, cool. It's looking good. Nice, nice, nice. All right, so we have authentication at this point. We have real-time functionality. I think the next step would be maybe create a profile screen or something. I'm not super convinced for this because it's inside the index. Okay, so let's just try to update. Well, let's see if we can actually sign out the user. This should be fairly intuitive. Let's add a button here that says title, sign out, on press. We should be able to bring our DB dot use auth, maybe, or use user. I think maybe we can say const db use auth. This should bring some methods, right, to user. Maybe we could use this for... Okay, so this is the info of the user. You're sign it in. Let's see. User dot email. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Maybe welcome. Beto. This is very big. Okay, let's leave it like that for now. Great, but how do I sign out? B dot sign it out. I guess I have to go to the docs. Sign out. db auth sign out. Okay, cool. db auth sign out. We can even simplify this like that. Ah, it didn't like it. But I think I have to call it here, no? Sign out. Okay, it worked. Let's log in again. Send email. Okay, it's super fast. Let's see. Okay. Copy. Paste. Okay. Authentication is confirmed and it persists because if I refresh the application, I remain authenticated. Nice. Let's see how this looks on iOS. What is this? Oh, cool. That's new. Okay. I'm actually gonna need a different account. Maybe we could sign in as guest. Guest auth. Let's take a look at this. This is really nice. Instant supports guest authentication. This allows your users to try your application before signing up and ensures they can keep all their data when they decide to create a full account with their email. Okay, we can do that by just by calling that sign in as guest. Okay, let's use that because I don't want to sign in on iOS. So a good place to add this would be in the email step. And let's just change this to be button and button. And since we're using React Native, on press. And we're not using Tailwind. Okay. And this should be title. There we go. This is a self-closing tag. Great. So once we sign in as guest in the home screen, we can say is guest. Let's copy this. Okay. Sounds good. This works. Let me create a new line for the email because I don't like it like that. Yeah. I'm gonna say font size of 20, 24 maybe. Font weight, semi-bold. There we go. So that looks good. And now we should support sign in as guest. Nice. That's awesome. And if I refresh, I'm signing in as guest. Cool. And by the way, once they are ready to actually log in, you can call sign in as guest. Oh, never mind. Upgrading to full user. You can do that by... Okay, so we can sign out as well, even if you are a guest. Upgrade. We're gonna need the email of the user. Send email. Yeah, so basically the same. We need to authenticate the user. Once they confirm the... Okay. Once they confirm the email, I think we don't need to do anything differently. It's just a matter of authenticating, and Instant is going to handle everything for us. Handling conflicting users. If a guest user signs up with an email that is not already associated with an existing account, their user ID remains the same, and they retain access to all data they created as guest. However, if a user with an email already exists, the guest user's data might need to be merged. You can fetch the list of guest users or users with this query. Interesting. Okay. The cool thing about this is that we don't need to worry about that because I'm not planning on upgrading my user at the moment, but it's good to know that you can do that. I want to show you the actual dashboard. Let's go to home. For inspector. Let's run this. Nothing. Users. Run. Nice. We have data. We have 2 users. And a cool thing is that we allow guests. So for the guest, we just don't have an email, but we do have the ID, which is what we're going to use to create conversations and stuff. And if we go to the Explorer, you can see here that we have these 2 users. One of them is guest. Great. All right. I think we are ready to start conversations. We can list the conversations here. And yep. So for that, we're gonna need to actually update the schema. And before I do that, I want to take a look at an example that the team has here. Oh, and by the way, it's worth mentioning that Instant fully supports Google Authentication, Apple, GitHub. Of course, that's a little more advanced for this video. Let's go to the examples. They have a chat app example that we can reference. Let's see the example. So we have channels, and each channel, I'm guessing, yeah, you can join a chat. Enter a username. So each channel basically is going to contain messages that users can send. You can clone the repo. Cool. Let's take a look at the code. I want to see the schema. Source. Well, source schema. We have files and users, which is the default. And then we have profiles. And then we have channels and messages. Profile is just display name. So because we are handling guests, we don't have a name, right? So they need to provide a name. We can create a profile whenever we create a user, whenever we authenticate a user, or even before you join a channel, because you could join a channel with a different name, which is cool. Okay, let's copy this. Let's go back to the code and let's add these 2. Now for entities that are not default, we don't have the $sign. Okay, just FYI. Now we also have indexed on the channels because what does that mean, by the way? Indexed. It means that you can, I guess, query, right? By this field. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so let's see the links. Users are linked to, let's see the ones that we have already. Yeah, so these 2 are, okay, so this is just how we are linking the users. This is the primary user ID. This is the default, but then we have some other links like the user profile and the author messages, channel messages. I'm going to copy this and let's paste it in here. Cool. So basically, we're linking the user profile forward to profiles. So each user has 1 profile and users have 1 profile. Okay. Author messages forward on messages. Yeah. So a message can have only 1 author. The label is author and on delete cascade. reverse profiles has many messages. Yeah. So basically a user can send many messages. And channel messages, on messages, yeah, messages have only one channel, but a channel can have many messages. Cool. Now for the rooms, let's copy this. For the rooms, we're gonna call it chat, presence, profile ID, display name. Okay, let's go back. That's all we need. Now, since we just changed this, we need to push this to instant. Let's open the terminal. It's just like deploying it. I'm going to stop the server and let's go back to our instant explorer. You know, it hasn't changed. It doesn't have the namespaces. So let's say npx instant CLI. And again, we can just say help to see the options available. We can use info, push schema, and perm files to production. Pull to pull from the deployed version or from the dashboard. So it's just a matter of saying push. All right, and it's detecting the profiles, channels, and messages. This looks good. Let's push it. Done. That was quick. Let's go back. Boom, just like that. We have channels, messages, and profiles. All right, so now let's create a channel where, you know, users can chat. And to do that, let's go to the Explorer. Let's select the channel's namespace and let's add a new row. All right, let's create a, I don't know, welcome channel. And we can add messages by linking. But so far we don't have anything. So just let's create a channel like that. Now let's copy the ID. Let's create a message. But before I do that, let's actually create a profile. Display name is going to be Beto. Messages, we don't have messages, but we can actually link a user. And this is very nice. I can see my users here. So I can link this to my user. Great, now I have data. And now let's go to messages. Hello, Beto, oops. Master React Native add code with Beto.dev now. Go, go, go. We can add a timestamp, author, it's gonna be me. Channel, the only channel that we have. This is very handy. And let's save. Great, now we have channel, we have a profile, we have messages, and we should be ready to start actually fetching that in our application. So in the home screen, I want to list the list of channels or a list of conversations. So let's go to the home screen. Great. Let's actually create a component. I'm going to create it inside the UI folder. List channels list.tsx. Export default function channels list. Okay. Return a simple view for now. Keep in mind that we are not worrying about UI at the moment. It's all about functionality. Once we have authentication and real-time functionality and everything works nice, we can tweak the UI. But that's actually not the goal of this video. It's just learning how to use Instant to create this real-time functionality, which is really nice. So far, it's a great user experience. Sorry, the DX, developer experience. All right, so channels list. Let's create a text. We can say available channels. And we can create a query by saying db dot use query, and then we can query yeah, so for the query we are going to get the channels, and we can even filter if we want to, but I think if I just pass an empty object, it's going to bring everything. Like, yeah, listen to all goals, listen to all channels. This is great. So we can get to the state like this, and you can filter if you want to. So for example, you can only bring the channels where a specific user is. Great. So we can say, if it's loading, return is loading. If we have an error, we have an error. Otherwise, we return the data. So for the data, we can iterate over the channels. For each channel, we can render a text. Let's pass the key, channel.id, which should be unique. And let's render the channel.name. It's safe. Let's see. I need to start the server, refresh my app, and I don't see the channels. It's because I'm not calling the channels list in my home screen. Okay, so we need to move this logic, but oh, sorry. Channels list. It's safe. Dun dun dun. Did you see the loading state? That's a welcome channel. That's so cool. Nice, nice, nice. It's very small though. Okay, so let's make this a little pretty. Let's add a style. I'm gonna do inline styles, guys. Please don't judge me. Border color purple. Nice. So let's pick a color for the primary color of our application. And I don't know, orange or purple. I don't really like purple. Blue, light blue. It's hard to see though. I don't know. I'll just say it's light gray. I think that's okay. Let's add a padding of 12. Great. So that's available channels. Let me make the font weight bold and font size 14. Oh, 17 maybe? Yeah, that's better. Let's use the same for here, but just like that. We can create a view that will contain the channels. like that. And then we can add a margin top of 30. I think that's a lot. Let's say 16. 24. Let's say 20. So the channels, we actually only have the name of the channel. Let's create a view actually that will wrap the channel. So we need to move the key. Let me remove it from here. So for each channel, we can add a style. And by the way, since each channel is going to take us to the channel, we need to handle a pressable event. So let's import pressable from React Native. And let's give it a style. Let's add a padding of 10 maybe. And let's add a background color. Let's say blue. Man, colors are hard. Green. Light green. There we go. That's my channel. Let's add a border. Radius of 10. Cool. So whenever we press a channel, we can say alert. You pressed and then we can pass the channel like this. You press channel name. So that means that we're getting the info of the channel. You pressed welcome. Yes, that's correct. Cool. Nice. So instead of doing that, we actually want to navigate to the channel room and then fetch the messages on that channel. So what I'm going to do here is create a dynamic route in Expo Router. And I'm going to call it channel.tsx, like that. Export default function channel. Yeah, just like that. And let's follow the same pattern. Let's create a channel screen.tsx inside the folder. So we're going to export function. This is not default. Channel screen. Return a view from React Native. Text channel screen. It's safe. So since this is a dynamic route, yeah, let's go back in. Let's say channel screen. Yep. Cool. Yeah, so we are going to navigate to this channel and we're going to pass a channel ID as parameter so that we can query the messages by channel ID. So to do that, let's go to the index. Let's go to the home screen. Channel list. Whenever we press, we want to navigate. So here, what I want to do is, yeah, handling the press like that, but I want to use Expo Router. So here, let's say const router equal to use router from Expo Router. And then we can say router dot push, and we can pass actually an object, and we can specify the path name and parameters, which is an object. I think, well, it's type any, but this is typed by default if I open like this. And the reason why it's typed is because, let me set it to the channel ID, is because we created, we use the brackets here. So when you create brackets, you are saying that this route is going to be dynamic, meaning that it's going to get a variable that is going to change, and it's going to render the content of the screen depending on that variable. So Expo Router automatically types these parameters so that we know that we need to set the channel when navigating. But one thing is that we need to add the new screen here. So this is going to be channel, like that. Channel. Okay, let's hit save. And now we should be able to see it here. There we go. So if I hit save, now we are passing a parameter. This is a pretty advanced stuff, guys. And if you want to learn more about this, by the way, you can again check out my course. We have a dedicated lesson, dynamic routes, and good news for you, because this lesson is the one that you can watch for free. So if you want to learn more about dynamic routes, just go and watch it for free. If you decide to upgrade later, that's great. Cool. So how can we access this channel ID in the channel dynamic route? It's actually pretty simple. We can destructure the value if we want to by using use search params from Expo Router. And I'm actually not sure why is this bringing it from here. Use local search params, sorry. Use local search params. This basically is going to give me the parameters. And just so that we know what's going on here, let's put it in the console. Yeah, let's open the console. Let's try to navigate. When I press, we navigate. And if we take a look at the console, we are getting the channel. There we go. Now, another thing to notice is that this is an object, meaning that we can destructure the channel variable like this. And just put channel in the console. This is safe because we are typing this variable. We know that it's called channel. And again, in case you missed it, we are passing it here. This is a variable. It's fully typed. And if I try to change the name, it's going to yell at me. Okay. So this is why we are safe here, destructuring the value, putting in the console. And now this is how it looks. Great. So now with this value, we can fetch the messages of this channel. But first of all, I want to validate, right? If we don't have a channel, we don't want to deal with anything. We just return, for now, just a text, right? Remember that. Don't worry about styling. Yeah, let's say that someone tries to navigate directly. Yeah, so we can just say channel not found. And if you really want to scare users, you can add a color red to the text. Okay, so if we do pass this validation, and since this is, by the way, just one line, you can even just do it like this. One liner. If we do pass this validation, we can query data. So let's use our DB, use query, and we want to bring messages this time. And we want to bring messages by channel ID, right? So we can do something like this. Where, let's see what we have here. Where ID, no. Okay, so it's not like that, I think. Where channel so how do I do this? Where channel where ID equal to channel? Yeah, this is not correct. I'm doing something wrong here. So I want to bring messages, goals where title is, okay, so messages where, let's copy this. Messages where yeah, I think I'm gonna need to look at the example. Messages by a given channel. Here it is. Okay, so it's querying by channel name. Query messages for the given channel. Property name does not exist. Yeah, because this is the actual ID. I wonder if we can do channel.id. Query by ID. And we can just pass the, oh, this is yelling at me. It's because channel could be string or an array of strings. And channel ID, it's string. Let's cast it. Okay, so what we are doing here is querying messages where the channel.id is equal to this. I wonder if this would work in the playground. Query inspector. Yes, let's see if this works. Should be able to do this, right? Okay, so let's say messages. That's a message. We're good. But we want to add this where? Let's see. Where the channel ID is equal to, let's copy the channel ID. I think we had it there, but anyways, we can copy it from here as well. It's safe. Okay, that worked. Really cool. We can limit these to just to know that this is actually working. 0. Yeah, there's 1. Cool. And we can also pass the order timestamp ascending. Let me see. Yeah. Order timestamp ascending. Still works. Nice. Okay, cool. I didn't know that you had to do this. Let me check again my Explorer. It's because each message, it's linked to the channel, right? So that's why we have access to the channel ID and name. So channel.id. Nice. And here you know what to do, guys. If we don't have, if we are loading, return a text that says loading. If we have an error, return a text that says error. Otherwise, we have data. And by the way, I'm doing something wrong here. I'm adding all this logic inside my app route. And like I said at the beginning, should handle this inside the screen. Let's copy this in here. Let's bring the import. Yeah, we need to go one more level here. Yes, so this screen is going to get some properties. I think just a channel for now. So let's create an interface named channel screen props. And let's define the channel. This is going to be a string. And then we can type this and get the channel. Cool. So now it's yelling at me because it needs the channel. So let's pass it like that. We need to cast it again. Not sure if there's a better solution for that. Okay. Finally, we can render the data here, and I'm gonna use a flat list for that. We pass the data, messages, which is the actual array. Yep, and that's the structure. Data, key extractor. It's gonna be data dot. No, how this works. Yeah, so you get the item. Key extractor, I forget. Key extractor, how do you do this? ID, okay, cool. ID. And then render item, which is going to get the item. Render item. Text. This gets the item. Okay, so the item, you can get it like this, I think. And then item dot content. There we go. Oof, nice. Ah, hell yeah. Cool, it's working. Great. Now let's actually improve this. Yeah, we can create actually a different component for the render item stuff. Let's do it down here. Let's call it message container. And it's going to get an item of type. How do I get this type? I wonder how they are doing it in the example. Okay, so this is how you type stuff. Let's copy this. Maybe it will help us. We need to type the item. Well, I can always just define it, right? Let's bring this from instant. And I think we can grab the messages here. I don't need everything. This is gonna be type message. There we go. Well, we can actually destructure here ID. And what else? Timestamp. Let's return this text. It needs the item. Okay, so instead of passing each property, we can just say item like this. What's up? Missing a dot. Item does not exist. Oh yeah, because I'm destructuring. Here we go. So this looks clean. This looks good. And this allows me to create a container like this. This actually should be a view from React Native. And then this is going to have a style. Let's give it a padding of 16. Background color red. Yep, that looks good. By the way, I'm gonna add a tag here. Content container style. Padding of 16. That looks good. And then let's say light blue. It's better. Again, I like to use border radius of 16. Okay, that message looks really nice. Oh, and it's yelling at me because of this. There we go. Awesome. Now, the cool thing, guys, is that we can actually create items in real time. Let me show you. I'm gonna bring this here. Yeah, I should be able to bring it here. So let's go to the channel on the iPhone. And here in Instant, we can create a new message, by the way. So let's go to messages. Let's create a new row. testing real time. This is a cool thing about Instant, guys, is that can I create it without an author? Same channel, no author, save. There we go. Second message in real time, not only on iOS, but also on Android. Here it is. So that's super cool. And that reminds me that we need some gap here. 16. Now, if you notice, both are of the same color. And I want to style this according to the author. So for each message, we can get the author, I think, right? We should be able to do that. Okay, so we are missing the author. I'm gonna need to bring that type here, by the way. Author, which is a user, right? There we go. Great. So now the message type. How can I add the author? I forget, but I should be able to. Can we do this? Then the structure. Oh yeah, but this is not right. I forgot how to do this, guys. I don't want to use AI. Maybe I can just create a custom type or something. It's because if I say, yeah, I'm gonna create a custom type. Let me know in the comments if there is a better way to do this. But we have the message. Well, this comes with the author, right? Author, content, ID, and timestamp. Author, content, of type message. Content. This is not a good way of doing this, I think. But in case you didn't know, you can also do this. Author, content, message. Is it message? I forgot. Content, timestamp. Timestamp. Message. Timestamp. And now I can change the type to be message container props. And I can get the author here. So I know who sent this. Author.id. Well, we could actually access the email, but it's going to be null for, yeah, it's going to be undefined for guest. Maybe we can do this. Otherwise, guest. Yes. Oh. Yeah, this is now yelling at me. because this is not going to cut it anymore. Yeah, so I think we can do something like item, but we still need to pass the author item. How do I do this? Why is this complaining? Yeah, it's because this could be null, by the way. Author. Let's make it optional. Nice. Can I keep the rest as it was? Author is specified more than once. Oh gosh. I'm tripping. Wait, but why is it guessed if the first one was created by me? I think I'm doing something wrong here. Author dot type. So this is null. Ah. Interesting. Why is this null? It says guest. But we have a link here. It's linked to me. If I do something like that. Mm. Okay. What happens if I do this? Let's put the data in the console. Dot author dot messages. So each message comes with an author object. Let's take position 0, author. So it's going to be undefined or not undefined. This is correct. So each item comes with an author. We are passing it here. We can take a look here. Author.displayName or user. Author. Yeah, the type is wrong. Okay, so let's do this. This is very ugly, but should work, I think. Author.displayName. Beto. User.email. That's my email. There we go. I'm pretty sure there's a better way to type this. Please let me know in the comments. But at this point, guys, we actually have the real-time functionality. This is ID, email, image, URL. Yeah, this is user. This is my type author. There we go. At least I improved it. Since this is optional, I think we don't need to pass the undefined. Nice, that's better. Instead of doing this, we can just add the question mark. Hell yeah, that looks way better. Okay, cool. Okay, so we have the timestamp, we have the author timestamp. Oh, not sure why it says 0. That's fine. What else we have? The ID. Yeah, we don't need the ID, I think. But now we can actually style this differently according to the current authenticated user. So we can have a validation like is my message equal to, we're gonna need to use const db use user. This will bring me the ID. And then we can check the author.id. That is equal to my ID. That means that it's my message. Okay, so ID, we already have an ID. So I'm going to rename this to user ID. Like that. And then, for example, I can say background color is my message, black. Otherwise, light blue. Okay, author.user.id. There we go. And then the text. Well, maybe I can do like an orange, right? This is very strong. Orange. There we go. Now I know that orange is my color and other colors are from other users. But this is actually going to look different for other users. Yes. I wonder why this is not working for iOS. The guest, you are the guest. But we don't have anything in the author. Maybe I did something wrong when I created the message. Content, let's see, guest, timestamp, author. The thing is that we cannot link to guest because we don't get the author or the ID here. The user needs to be authenticated for that. But, you know, if you're authenticated, you'll get nice styling like this. Let's create a new message from the authenticated user. Authenticated user here. Okay, and this is why the timestamp is 0. It's because I need to actually add the seconds here, I think. Which we can do by calling date.now, I think, in JavaScript. So this is mine, the only channel we have. And let's send that in. Boom, just like that. That's my reply. Great. Cool, so now we have real-time functionality. It's just a matter of keep adding more fancy things like an input to create messages directly from here. How can we do that? I'm thinking maybe we can create a super simple input here. So that list allows you to render a variety of components, but you know, this is gonna be kind of hard because we need to handle the input not being covered. So let's actually use something that I use in my AI tattoo application, which is keyword avoidance in React Native. And by the way, I think that's available. React Native keyboard controller. Yeah, that's available in Expo Go if I remember correctly. Let's see. Yeah, this is available in Expo Go. We can just install it. This is literally the best library for keyword controller stuff. Yeah, let's copy this command. Let's open this. I'm going to remove the console log, by the way, and install React Native keyword controller. Clear. Start the server again. Refresh the apps. Oops, it broke. There we go. Sounds good. So let's see. We navigate. We need an input. I think the input should go here. But I'm going to create a view. And let's create an input. Text input from React Native. And I think I'm going to bring the input from the auth screen. Let's paste this in here. I'm going to bring the style as well. Do we have styles here? No. Let's add it in line then. There we go. It's safe. Great. Now my input is at the bottom of the screen. You might not see it, but it's there. And it's being covered each time that I focus the input. Which is, you know, it's fine. Let me move this so that you can see. Yeah, so let's actually use this to don't cover it. We need to add this provider in our application. So let's go to the entry point, which is the layout. Let me add this provider here. And we're gonna need to import it like this. It's safe. It's refreshing and it works nice. All right, so now we can go to channel screen. And there is actually a keyboard sticky view that I think we can use here. Let's see if this works. Boom. Just like that. Look at that, guys. Hello. And soon enough, we will be able to submit here. Nice. This is really nice. I wonder if this works on iOS though. That's the input. Let's focus. And boom. Just like that, we have beautiful input handling. Looks absolutely amazing. And if you want, you can get even fancier by implementing liquid glass input on iOS. I'm not going to dive into that because that's a platform specific feature, but in case you want an example, once you become a pro member at Code with Beto, you get access to resources like the AI tattoo application, this one, which has an input with liquid glass, and it looks really nice. That's for iOS though. You would need to implement something different for Android, but definitely a nice example. It's hard to see there, but if we take a look in the App Store, there is actually a screenshot here. This one. You can see the input. It's liquid glass. Looks really nice. This is one of the best apps that I've made. And by the way, I'm super proud to brag about this because it's actually making money. Let me show you Revenue Cat. Let me sign in. Jesus. Okay. 253 at the time. 253 monthly recurrent revenue. This is my AI tattoo application. You can see it here. It's a real project. Pro members at Code with Beto get lifetime access to the code base updates. We're constantly updating it, improving it. But definitely it's a real project with a lot to learn, a lot of things to look, examples, like specific things like the input, stuff like that. A great example. Make sure to check it out. By the way, we offer purchase parity. We offer discounts for students. And we have actually a guide. If you're working for someone, they might be able to pay it for you. We have a guide that you can reference to learn how to request that kind of help from your employer. But yeah, we have now a really nice input. I'm very happy with these guys. Hello. Now let's actually make this pretty. First of all, I'm gonna create a button here, but this is gonna be a pressable like that. And I think we can use Expo symbols, symbol view, and let's give it a name. And by the way, a pro tip is that you can pass an object, define the iOS name, arrow up, maybe. Yeah. And with the latest version, you can now pass Android symbols as well, Android icons. It's using material icons, I think. Arrow up. Yeah, let's see. I cannot see anything. We need to provide a size, I think. There is the arrow. It's at the very, it's below. We need to provide a color, by the way. Colors. What is this? This takes an array. Why do we have this? An array of colors to use when the symbol type is palette. iOS only. In color, red. Okay, that's the thing. And on iOS, there it is. Native, fully native. Nice. So yeah, of course we need to say style, flex direction, row. Align items, center. Great. And by the way, I don't like that these items are at the very bottom of the screen. So we can add a padding bottom. Let's say 100. And instead of hard coding this to 100, we can use the safe areas. Const equal to use safe area insets from React Native area context. And then we can grab the bottom insets. And instead of hard coding this to 100, we can change this to bottom. And of course, you can add a little more, but that is going to be just above the safe area, which is what we want. So this still looks good. Look at that. Yeah, instead of adding it here, by the way, a pro tip, the keyword sticky view has an offset. Offset bottom. No. Yeah, when closed, I want to use the bottom. Oh, I guess opened. That means that when you open the keyboard, you won't have that weird padding. So we can now remove this. Yeah, that was causing issues. Yeah. Okay, so let's say minus bottom. And now it works as intended. By the way, this is not an email. Let's remove it. Now let's add a background color red just to see the available space here. So as you notice, this is taking the entire available space, but these two items are basically competing for space. So on the text input, I'm going to say flex grow equal to 1. And this is just going to push up to all the space that it can take, which that looks good. Now let's add a padding. Horizontal of 16. Great. You know, we can add a little more here. Minus 30, minus 10, just a little extra. I think that's enough. That's too much on iOS, I think. Maybe we can just add this for Android, but we can do that later. Okay. Another thing that I want to do is that when we navigate to this screen, I want to autofocus the input like that. That gives like a nice user experience because you navigate and boom, you're ready to start typing. I'm not sure why it's still recommending my email. Anyways, nice. That's really good. Now let's change this to be white. And I'm going to add a style here. Background color black. Yeah, something like that. Padding off, I don't know, 3. 5, 6, border radius 50 so that we get a circle, gap of 16, but this gap is in the container here. There we go. And if you want, we can, make this more like a circle. That looks good, I think. Maybe when it's opened, we add like a 3 pixel here, -3. So we get a nice, spacing there. That feels really nice. Super responsive. Let's try to type a long message. Oh, you see what happened there? We're basically pushing the content. So I think we can fix that by saying flex shrink. There we go. Hopefully that fixes the issue. Let me try that again. Nope. I think the flex shrink goes in the pressable. Oh gosh. Maybe here as well. It's kind of annoying to have to type. So I can just add a random value here. Okay, so that fixed the issue. So what we're doing here is just instead of, preventing the input for growing. Okay, cool. And we can also do like multi-line. Not sure if this will work for Android though. Oh yeah. You can do this and maybe change the styling a little bit. But for now, let's just keep it simple. All right, so now we're good to start sending messages. When we press the submit button, let's take a quick look on iOS. Nice. This looks really nice. Cool. Not bad, right? For a quick app. So in here, we can add a handle submit, handle send message function. Why am I creating a component? Okay, so we need to store the message here. Set message equal to use state. And now on the input, on change, set message, value, message. On text change. Oh, and this is yelling because I didn't type it. This is a string. There we go. So now we're storing the variable here. And we can transact here by saying dv dot transact. And now they are going to teach me how to do it. Create a new object in the goals namespace. What I want to do here is create a new message. So this is how we do it. We need to create an ID. Let's copy this example. This is going to be the new message ID. We can import ID from instant. And then we can say messages. We pass the message ID. And we are going to update with the values of a message, which is the content passing the message. Is that all we need? Let's see. Let's go to the console. So when we create a row, we need the timestamp, author, channel, content. How do we link the author? Maybe transact message. I think we're gonna need to take a look at the example again. Create message. Okay, so you can you can call link like this, and then dv transact. This is way cleaner. Let's go back. Let's paste this in here. So let's take a look. Messages ID. So we can do something like this if we want. Message ID. Instead of calling the function directly, I think this is a little cleaner. Then we pass the content, which is a message. Then we get to pass a timestamp. And like I said, this is date now. Now we're starting to add real data. We need the author. So the author, we can grab it from the user. Let's say const equal db use user. And then we grab the ID. What else do we have? We're gonna have an ID all the time, even if they are just a guest. I think we can pass that. Let's rename it to be user ID. And then here, user ID. And then we need to pass the channel ID. We're getting this from the parameters. So let's put it in here. Now, take a look, guys. Oh, this is complaining. Why? I lost my import for some reason. So take a look at what's happening here, guys. The transaction, it's being created here. This is technically defining what we want to do. And then we call dv transact. And this is way cleaner because you could also do this. Paste this in here directly. And it's great, it works nice, but it's hard to read. And then, oh, another important thing is that we are linking stuff. You can do link, onlink, create, delete, merge. A lot of cool stuff here for more advanced use cases. Okay, finally I can delete this because this should do it. So handle send message, it's gonna be called whenever the user presses this button. So on press, handle this stuff. Okay. And another thing that you can do is on submit editing. And this is basically a handler that allows you to, allows you to get the event when the user presses this arrow, the blue one. We can just do the same, handle send message like that. But let's see. Hello, and we can even send an emoji. How cool is that? Nice, 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 nice. Let me bring my real device. Let's see this in action. going to close the simulator because I think I should be able to use my physical device here. Let me see, because I think Expo Go is not available yet. Production. Yeah, it's not going to work in my physical device, only on simulator. At least at the time that I'm recording. So I guess, yes, we need to open again the simulator. But I want to put these two side by side to really see how this looks. So let's bring this here. Notice that we also have nice keyword avoidance. And like I said, you can press the key. Yeah, and that actually sent the message, as you can see there. Now I can reply. But if you notice, oh, okay, we started hitting some some issues. But I can send this again. What's happening? It thinks that I'm a guest. Let's try again. Let's send this. It's taking me as guest. I'm wondering why is that. Maybe the author is wrong. ID. Not sure, but we actually have a different issue. Is that we are covering the list. Let's give it a background color. I think we can do white. Yeah, that looks good. Nice. So, I mean, it's creating them, as you can see there. We're covering the screen, but I think that's not too bad for this quick example. The only thing that I'm wondering is why it's not detecting my user. Okay, so and one more thing that I want to do once we submit, first of all, is set the message to be an empty string. Cool. All right, so we saw that the functionality, real-time functionality, is working. Let's bring this here. Now let's see. Let's take a look at the flat list and sticky view. What happens if I do this? I think that kind of works. But for some reason, the input is behind. Maybe it's because of this. Padding gap. Maybe we need a style. Looks of one. There we go. I think this works great because it's pushing all the content up. And you can also scroll. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, cool. I'll take it. Okay, so let's try to fix this thing. The input. I mean, the input is working. I can submit. Now it gets empty. And I would like to dismiss the keyword once we submit as well. So here I can say keyboard from React Native dot dismiss. Let's try again. Okay, not too bad. Now before I actually do this thing, I want to check the user ID. Let's see, console log user ID. Let's return. Oh no, it deleted it. Anyways, that's fine. Okay, that's my user ID. It ends with 72F3. Where is my 72F3? That's my user. And so it seems like the linking is not working. Yeah. The author, I can add a link. Ah, okay. So this is a different ID. Okay, that's why. So this is not the user ID. User ID. Yeah, so we cannot use this. Oh, by the way, let me bring this back. Like that. So how do we get the author ID? Let's, I guess, check their example. Author ID, create message. They get it from the profile ID. Ah, okay. Yeah. So we created profiles with display name. Okay. So we need to basically fetch the profile before we do that. They actually have this nice hook that I think we can use. We can create a, well, we can actually use the utils, I think. And let's export. So this is basically using the user and then querying the user ID. So we can use the profile here. Let's see if this works. Profile equal to use profile. Profile dot ID. Okay, so we can destructure the profile. And then pass it here. Profile dot ID. And I think this should do it. Let's see. Test. With an emoji. Submit. There we go. Now we have the validation. Yeah, it's because we have profiles. I forgot about that. But instead of having profiles, we could just have the user ID, I think. And you get the idea, guys. It's a matter of, from here, allowing the user to create more channels, and then joining channels. And I think this is a good point to stop, guys. We actually really learn a bunch of things here, like real-time functionality, how to create items, how to update our schema in Instant, and a lot of great stuff. From here, you could keep creating channels, just add the functionality to create channels, navigate to a specific channel, improve the UI, and all that good stuff. I think this was a good exercise for beginners, especially we didn't use AI. We wrote everything by hand. I hope you follow along with me if you really wanted to learn how to do it. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this type of video. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. Check out my courses for more in-depth tutorials and more advanced things to do. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.